So we all think we know Pinocchio, right? The wooden puppet who just wants to be a real boy. It's a classic. But what if I told you that story, it's not really for kids? That it's actually this deep, kind of terrifying drama about how our own minds get built? Yeah, that's what we're going to dive into. I mean, really think about it. Is this just some old fairy tale? Or is it maybe, just maybe, the story of your mind? Because once you start peeling back the layers, you see it's not just about a puppet. It's about that constant tug of war we all have inside us. You know the one. The battle between what you want right now, what you know you should do, and, well, who you end up being because of it.
All right, so to really get this, we're going to look at the story like a psychoanalyst would. And here's the key. Think of Pinocchio's world as a stage. But the actors on the stage, they aren't just characters. They're the different parts of one single mind, all fighting it out. So let's meet the cast, shall we?
First up, you've got the star of the show, at least in the beginning. This is the id. Now, the id is basically that raw, unfiltered, screaming toddler that lives inside every single one of us. It's that part of our brain that's stuck in the baby phase. It's got one simple rule. I want it, and I want it now. Pure impulse, pure desire, and absolutely zero thought about what happens next.
Okay, so then you've got the total opposite, the superego. This is the critic, the rule book. It's basically the voice of your parents, your teachers, and all of society's rules that you've shoved into your brain. It's that little voice that's constantly nagging you. You probably shouldn't do that, or, ooh, what will people think? It's your moral compass, or at least it's really, really trying to be.
And who's caught in the middle of this mess? That would be the ego. Think of the ego as the stage manager. It's you, your conscious self. And you've got this impossible job of listening to the id screaming for candy and the superego lecturing you about cavities, and you somehow have to figure out a way to just get through the day in the real world without a total meltdown.
So let's get back to our play. The curtain rises and Pinocchio is carved from this piece of wood. Right from the get-go, he's not really a character, is he? He's more like a force of nature. He is the id, pure and simple, completely unregulated.
Everything he does is driven by one thing, and one thing only. What psychoanalysts call the pleasure principle. It's exactly what it sounds like. If it feels good, you do it. If it's difficult or boring, you run away. Simple as that. And him being wooden, that's not just literal, it's symbolic. It represents that raw, chaotic, totally untamed energy of the unconscious mind.
And you see this play out instantly, right? The second he has legs, what does he do? He kicks his own creator. He's supposed to go to school? Nope, he runs away. Anytime someone tries to stop him from doing what he wants, he just lashes out. It's pure defiance. He's got no conscience at all at this point, because psychologically, he's basically still a newborn.
Okay, but a mind just can't exist in that state of pure chaos forever. Sooner or later, the forces of order have to show up. And that's when Geppetto, the loving but worried father, and of course, the talking cricket, the literal voice of conscience, walk onto our stage. Their job? To be the struggling superego.
And just like that, you have the main conflict of the whole story. It's a psychological showdown. In one corner, you've got Pinocchio, our id, screaming, I want it now, living by that pleasure principle. And in the other corner, you've got the cricket, our superego, wagging his finger and saying, you shouldn't do that, trying to enforce the moral principle. It is an all-out war inside this one mind, right from the start.
Now, this next part is so important. Remember when Pinocchio just kills the cricket, throws a mallet at him? That is not just a kid being bad. From a psychological view, that is the id trying to violently murder the conscience as it's just starting to form. He's trying to literally eliminate the feeling of guilt so he can go back to his fun, impulsive life without that annoying voice of reason buzzing in his ear.
But here's the thing. You can't really kill your conscience. And you definitely can't ignore the real world forever. Sooner or later, the id's wild rampage is going to smash headfirst into reality. And it's in that painful, fiery crash that the ego, our conscious self, is finally forged.
This is where a huge concept kicks in, the reality principle. You can think of this as the ego's big aha moment. It's that slow, dawning realization that if you actually want to get things done, like find food or stay warm or be safe, you can't just throw a tantrum. You have to think. You have to deal with the world. You might even have to wait for things.
And believe me, Pinocchio learns this stuff the hard way. I mean, the really hard way. He literally burns his own feet off because he's not paying attention. He nearly starves to death. He gets tricked. He gets used. He gets rejected by everyone. All this pain, all these terrible consequences, they force his mind to start figuring things out,
to start mediating between what he wants and what the world will actually allow.
So at this point, his brand new ego has one mission and one mission only: survive. That's it. Just survive the constant battle between his own impulses and the unforgiving rules of reality. But this is a really fragile stage. It's so easy for him to slip back into his old ways. It's not a victory, it's more like a very shaky truce.
And that shaky truce, it's about to face its biggest test yet. Because what happens when you take away all the rules? No authority, no consequences, nothing. Well, you get the land of toys. And let me tell you, it sounds like paradise, but it's really a terrifying psychological experiment.
Think about what the land of toys is promising. Total freedom. No school, no parents, no rules. In our psychological play, this means the superego has been completely kicked off the stage. It's basically an open invitation for the id to just go wild with absolutely nothing and no one to say, stop.
So let's break down the psychology of what's happening. You remove the authority, the superego is gone. That means the id is totally unchecked. It can do whatever it wants, and that fragile little ego, the one that was just learning to make choices, it completely collapses. It can't handle it. And the price for all this so-called freedom? You lose yourself. You are, quite literally, dehumanized.
And this is where we get the story's most powerful warning. The boys turning into donkeys, it's not just a weird curse. It's symbolic. It's about being completely consumed by your own most basic animal instincts. See, when a mind has no rules, no superego to balance it out, it doesn't find freedom. It loses everything that makes it human and just regresses.
Okay, so after escaping that absolute nightmare, Pinocchio has one last trial, his final exam. And it happens inside the belly of the dogfish, which is basically a symbolic trip to the underworld. A journey into total darkness, where all the pieces of his mind will finally have to come together.
Down there, in the dark, there's nowhere to run, no distractions. He is trapped, and he's forced to finally face it all. The consequences of everything he's done, the pain he's caused his father, his own mistakes. This is it, the final forced moment of looking in the mirror.
And it's in that darkness that he takes the final steps. Step 1. He confronts his failure head-on when he sees what's happened to Geppetto. Step 2. He embraces duty. For the first time, he stops thinking about himself and decides to be the protector. And step 3. He integrates himself. His ego, his conscious self, finally lines up with the ideals of his superego.
This is the climax. This is everything. Think about it. His most basic, animalistic, id-driven instinct is survival. Save yourself, right? But he doesn't. He chooses to risk it all to save Geppetto. He puts a higher moral principle, love, responsibility, ahead of his own safety. And that right there, that's the moment desire and duty finally come together.
And with that single choice, the transformation is complete. Look at the difference. He was a marionette, literally a puppet controlled by his own instincts. Now, he's a self-governing individual. He was a chaotic id, now he's an integrated psyche. He was a dead shell, and now he's a conscious mind.
So you see, becoming a real boy, it's not some magic trick the fairy does. It's the final trophy at the end of a long, brutal, psychological war. It is the victory of the conscious mind over its own primitive self. That wooden puppet left behind, that's just the empty shell of the impulses that used to control him. And maybe that's the real lesson of Pinocchio, that becoming real, becoming a fully formed person, well, that's the hardest and the greatest adventure any of us will ever go on.